Okay, well, we're going to get started. So, for those who are watching, I just want to thank you guys for joining today. Today is the very first debut live of Kay's Collab Corner. And here we just like to have interviews and speak with other authors. And today we're going to speak with Sergeant William Stevens. He's going to tell us about his time in the military, the books that he wrote, and his experiences as a veteran and with mental health. So we just want to thank Mr. Sergeant Stevens for joining us today. Thank you for your service to our country. My own family members, all the men in my family were in the military, so I know what it's like for a man to leave the military and not get the assistance that he needs as a veteran. And I also know that you guys do not give thanks enough for your service. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we're tracking now.
There you go. We're cracking. Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is retired Sergeant First Class William Stevens. I'm from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, on the East Coast, where the Hershey, near where the Hershey candy bar is made. Ever had a Hershey candy bar?
Hershey Candy Bar?
Hershey candy bar.
I actually don't eat chocolate. I know I'm weird.
Okay. Graduated in 1988 from Carlisle Senior High School. Right out of high school, went into the Army. Had a terrible home life, toxic home life. Went from basic straight to Germany, and about 8 months later, I found myself in Desert Shield, Desert Storm. 91 at 19 years old. So had my first combat experience at 19. Went to Fort Carson, re-enlisted for 4 years, became a sergeant after all that time being there. About, 3-4 years made sergeant, E5. So I went from E1, E2, E3, and when I came back from Desert Shield, Desert Storm, I made E4 specialist. Then I re-enlisted and went to Fort Carson and made sergeant there, E5. And then, I think I made staff sergeant while I was there too. So in 97. And then it was like Korea, Carson, back to Fort Carson, Colorado, back to Korea. And that was like an 8-year relationship I had with a girl. And I thought that I was going to marry her, and that didn't happen. I think I bought her too many handbags and Coach bags and stuff from Korea, and she took them and sold them to her friends. Aww. So then I left and went to Fort Lewis, Washington, and got into some situation there that I wrote about in my book. Kind of got into an altercation. I thought my career was over. Basically, from that time, I think I had been like deployed to Kuwait about 5 times, different rotations, desert rotations here and there, a couple months there, a couple months here. Mm-hmm. When I got to Lewis, I think that's where like the real PTSD started setting in, because like I was a single staff sergeant, and I lived in the barracks, and they wouldn't allow single staff sergeants to live off base. So if I ever got like irked or triggered, I would go to the barracks and punch the walls. Like my anger was so bad that I bled my knuckles, and then I would clean myself up and go back and look all professional, like nothing ever happened. And was in the motor pool helping the soldiers clean tools and stuff. Wasn't really my job. I was considered the gunnery sergeant. So basically I was like in charge, but there was a platoon sergeant over me. But there was another platoon sergeant and another platoon who used to call me the MF, He was a Hispanic guy, and he had like this accent and always called me a moo. That's the way it must sound like when it came out of his mouth. And I
Mhm.
kept telling him, you know, I don't like you doing that in front of the soldiers, and it like belittles me. And he said that, you know, I shouldn't be there, and it wasn't my time. And well, they all went. Let's say they all went to lunch, and I think two of them were there, and he kept digging in on me, and I basically picked up a tool, I guess you could say, and it was assault with a deadly weapon. I found myself sitting in the first sergeant's office. I didn't even realize I did it. I was sitting in the first sergeant's office, and they were like getting ready to relieve me and turn me over to the wolves, you know. And I was like, "What even happened?" You know, I don't even remember. Like, you know, when you have, you know, those type of triggers and stuff, you're I'm remembering certain things, you know, certain deployments and stuff like that, you know. And I'm just going to tell you that I guess it was kind of like a relapse, you know.
Okay. So was this while you were in the military or after? And was this because of your experiences in the military or?
Yeah. So I was kind of at my prime. I was at 10 years already,
Mhm.
and I got relieved. So they put me in a museum as a tour guide. Yeah. So I was a hard charger with like two combat deployments already,
Mhm.
and about 5 tours to Kuwait. And I'm like, I never thought that I would be a tour guide at Fort Lewis Military Museum. And I actually learned a lot. You know, I learned about how to network with people and interact with veterans, and, you know, about military history and all that. And it was funny because, like, back in them days, they didn't have military correspondence. And I don't believe they knew how to write my evaluation report when they relieved me. And I think there actually is a God, because that evaluation report, I don't even think went to my official record, because I got thrown out of the battalion I was in, like the unit I was in, and put in the museum, and ended up working for an artillery, because I was artillery colonel. I sat down with him, and he's like, "How do you think you did?" And I'm like, "I think I'm doing pretty good in the museum." And I was like, "Can I ask you a question?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "You think this is going to hinder my career?" And he goes, "Well, I think there's a time and a place that everybody needs to like decompress, you know, and be taken out of the spotlight or the leadership role or being a hard charger."
Mhm.
Because, like, I think while I was at the museum for not even a year, uh, the promotion list came out for E7, and I made it. I couldn't
Okay.
believe I made it. Like, I was the only one in the whole battalion. Like, when I got thrown out of the battalion, no one in the battalion made it. I was number 62 in the whole army, like, selected. My number was 62. So I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. So I didn't stay long at the museum. And then I went to Fort Riley, and I didn't want to bring that trash with me. I wanted everybody to forget what happened to me, because I think when I got to Fort Riley, I was a newbie. I was a brand new promoted sergeant first class, and people are like, "How's this guy only got 10 years in the military? You know, not even
Right.
10 years, and he's still a 7. You know?" And he's like, "There's got to be like a history," and they were trying to find it, and, you know, and it came out. We got deployed, I think, twice while I was there,
Mhm.
and I was a gunnery. I was a platoon sergeant, but then I guess 9/11 happened, and we were all sitting in the day room doing some like health training, medical training, and someone turned on the TV, and there was the Twin Towers coming down, and I was like starstruck. I was like, oh, man. And like days later, we were in meetings, and they were telling us, you know, and I'm like, man, ain't nobody in my platoon has, like, when you go to combat, you wear a patch over here on your right arm. So nobody in my platoon, I think two sergeants in my platoon had combat patches. So everybody was basically new, or they'd never been to combat. So I had already been to combat twice. And it was kind of weird, because, like, it was funny because like when we started training to go to Iraq, we knew we were going to Iraq for Operation Iraqi Freedom 1. That's what they called it. OIF 1. Veterans watching anything. Operation Iraqi Freedom 1. A lot of people in my platoon were like trying to get out, like drugs, coming out of the closet, all kinds of stuff.
So I wanted to ask you, during what part of your time in the military did you actually become inspired to write your book?
So the first book, The Mirror, okay, was from age 19 all the way to about 2004. So with all my deployments, all my combat operations and everything, I started writing. I was writing on little pieces of paper, you know, on guard duty, just never on a computer, you know, just on a piece of paper. Because one of the stories in my book is called My Secret Box, like my secret box, like a mystery box I had with all these poems and stuff in it. So eventually I got out of the Army in 2007, and I had to stay at Walter Reed Army Medical Center because I came back from my 5th combat deployment and I didn't have a weapon. We went and wrote a book for the Army, so a lot of people don't know this, but I am a combined author with 5 other deployed sergeants. So we were combined authors who collected classified data in Iraq, and then we wrote and collected data for the Center of Army Lessons Learned at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas.
Okay,
So then,
so you co-authored with other people in the service with you?
yeah, in 2006, the book came out. It was like the most requested publication in the Army.
Oh, okay. What was it called?
It's called, I can send you like the cover. It's a Security Forces Handbook,
Okay.
0622 from the Center of Army Lessons Learned. So
Oh, okay.
it was kind of like a handbook for survival for units that didn't know how to deploy. So we did that. Yeah. So it was classified. Then they declassified it. Yeah. So, but now I have it. I show people. But
so it's not something that the watchers or the readers could just go and click and look at.
Maybe if they go on the Center of Army Lessons Learned website,
Okay.
like I gave you the number 0622 Security Forces Handbook. So, yep, I'm inside as one of the contributing authors. You know, I listed it on my resume and got a cool job, I guess you could say. But not to prolong this, I stayed at Walter Reed for a year and learned that PTSD and mental health was not combat related, like the people that I was with. So, long story short, I went and did all kinds of little odd.
I didn't understand. So are you saying that they told you that PTSD is not combat related? That's what they told you?
It's not. Everybody has trauma. Everybody has trauma. So you can get PTSD from witnessing an automobile accident. You can get PTSD sexually. And that's where I'm coming with this now. So I was in a group of 12 people, and 2 of the people in my group, most of the guys who were in my group were infantry. One was a chaplain, but there was a female staff sergeant, Marine Corps staff sergeant, who is a recruiter. And I don't want to really open Pandora's box on that because it's in the book.
Right.
And ruin it for everybody. But we all thought we were there for combat. She was there because she got, by her command, she was sexually assaulted by her commanding officer and first sergeant. And her husband was in the next room. And he never knew it. And she was there she was in the psych unit, inpatient, outpatient psych unit, as protective custody because somebody basically did not want her to be around. And after she was done there, they were going to go to trial and all that because she told us everything, you know, because she didn't speak for a whole year. She watched us all play like mind games and draw on boards and play charades and duck goose. Basically, that's what it was like.
Yeah.
kindergarten, but she spoke out at the end and said, "You guys are all foolish, and I don't have any combat experience, but I have PTSD, sexually uh, contacted type PTSD." And I was blown away. Like, I was in tears when she was talking. And then I left Walter Reed and had to deal with my psychiatric nurse wife. And when my daughter came into this world in 2007, excuse me, I was forgotten. So me and her had the best relationship before my daughter came into this world, and I was basically treated like a patient in front of my child. So, and I could understand, I was drugged up on lithium for 3 years. So I was kind of like, and this is what they do to you, and they don't tell you, but they give you different medications to take away the demons. So I was on
There's someone
lithium
in
for
the
three
chat.
years.
It looks like someone is speaking to you in the chat. Juliana Damien says, "Well done, William."
Oh, she actually pushes out some of my content. She's not a marketing person, but I sent her the link, and I never thought that she would come on and watch me. So
That's awesome.
she does like she sends out to all her contacts, like shotgun blast of like, hey, this is his book. I think she shot one to like different countries, and just recently someone bought my book on Amazon Japan app. So I'm
That's
global.
wonderful. Okay, so why don't
But
you
yeah,
tell us about, there are two books that you have featured on the page right now. Why don't you tell us about those two books and your inspiration for those two books?
okay. So real quick, being in a non-contact environment with my wife for 10 years is where I started like getting this suicidalology thing going on. So I'm not saying it was a good thing that my mom died in 2014, but it kind of like inspired me to be a mentor to my father. So from 14 to 17, I lived with my dad in a corner on a leather couch. And I also worked for the civilian government as well. So I had like a very high security clearance. And with my PTSD, I felt like I was targeted because I had disclosed. And I think this is where I became more a target, because like when my dad died in 2017, I had already started developing a manuscript, but I was doing it on government time.
Okay.
In office. So, and I put it in my new book. I don't care what people think, because ain't nobody coming after me now. But
Right.
I had it at home. I had it at home in the empty apartment, and I wanted to make sure that I could catch the reader, because I don't know how to do that stuff. So I like
Right.
laid the manuscript out all over the floor and started like going, I'm the reader, and I'm like, oh no, that's boring. That's boring. Oh, that's real good. And I put it all together so like when you turn the pages, just like my reviews say online, all over the floor and started like going up. You can't
Sorry, go ahead.
put it down. You can't put it down. So, and that's the way I made it, so that you can't put it down. And then
Right.
that was that book, and that book was supposed to drop, I believe, Christmas 2017, after my father died in September. Is publisher I was with dropped the ball, and it didn't come out till like January 2018. But when it first came out, it sold out 3 weeks in a row on Amazon. But I never seen one royalty. I didn't see one royalty at all, because like they said you had to meet like a threshold to send it
Right.
out. But eventually I found out that my contract had been terminated and they went out of business. Book Venture, I'm just going to say that. They're not along no more. They had a Better Business Bureau rating of 1.2. And they were my publisher.
I remember them.
Yeah, so yeah, they're not around no more. And then I think for a while it was pretty dormant. The book just sat online, and people bought it here and there, but like didn't get the royalties. And then it came up as unavailable. And then after that book came out, people were like coming into my government office and me like autographs and signing it, and bosses were getting mad. You know, it's like, are you trying to promote your book through the government? I'm like, no, I bring it in here. You know, they're like a celebrity. You know, but
Right.
and then I was with the civilian government for 16 years, going through my divorce, and I got terminated for voicing my opinion and saying that I didn't want to work in the office with my boss. So basically, I sat at home for 3 months, and I didn't have anything to do but file my disability retirement that some of my friends told me to submit, and I didn't think it was going to get approved. But while I was sitting at home, uh, United Writers Organization, somebody from the woodwork, I call them trolls, came out and reached out to me and influenced me or manipulated my mind, and we went with a contract to rebrand the Mirror to the second edition. So instead of the Mirror being veteran focused, I started doing research that trauma, PTSD is everyone. It was, and then we changed the back of the book, put my little witch doctor photo on the back, my hair sticking up and all that.
Right.
And we had a dream. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it was amazing. It only cost like $200 to redo.
Right.
But then they were like, you should write a second book. And I'm like, man, I'm not writing a second book. I can't. I got tremors in my left hand. And then, I don't know, May 4th, I just sat down. May 4th, 2024, I sat down after my retirement was approved. My second retirement was approved. I started talking to my phone and listening to like I said in my new book, listen to some Nine Inch Nails or some
Right.
Deftones or something, and manipulates my mind. And instead of writing chapters, I started writing entries, and this baby right here was born right here. So that's a different cover. That's my author cover.
Why don't you
But
show us your two books and sort of do like a very short summary of each book? Yeah, show us what they look like.
So this one here, I have to open it so that you see it like that with my figure in the middle of it, okay?
Mhm.
So the reason why it looks like this is because my last publisher has not the rights to my cover, but you'll see the other cover online. But I only have authorization for the hardback and the Kindle. So they're trying to, it's called retire the ISBN. Once this thing here is retired, the ISBN that's official, then it'll come back to me because I have the rights to this book. This
Right.
is therapeutic poetry, so for you to reflect back on, okay? And I have buttloads of these if you want to reach out to me that are signed. They mean more when they're signed. So, and then this one here is I want to say, you ever heard the thing where you have to build a toolbox?
A toolbox?
Not a toolbox to do, yeah, like a mental toolbox, like things you put in your mind to help you better your day.
Yes.
Kind of like coping mechanisms, okay?
Right.
Well, I learned that you have to get tools to put in your toolbox, and this is a tool to put in your toolbox. So the broken mirror is the second of the mirror. So the mirror, and then all the mirrors broke. So all the relationships, everything. So this is this opening Pandora's box. Both books had to be approved by the Pentagon Review Board, because one thing I learned, no names, no organizations, and no locations, and no lawyers can come after me. So
Right. So
the
there's some
broken
top
mirror,
secret information in there. That sounds juicy.
not top secret, but basically calling the government out, because here's my thing. There are a lot of things that go on within the government, and I'm not trying to say our administrations, because sometimes that administration does not know what goes on behind closed doors. Because working as an intern with security and as a, not security guard, but as a security specialist doing like clearances and personal security and contracts, you learn as you go. There's a thing called the 13 adjudication guidelines when you have to verify people's security clearance.
Right.
Sometimes there are roadblocks. Sometimes there are roadblocks. And you, as the person, has to tell your boss, hey, there's a roadblock or a problem. And when people tell you, go ahead and approve it, it's kind of like you scratch my back, I scratch your back. And there's a lot of corruption, I'm just going to say. And
Right.
then when you voice your opinion and you're a low person on the totem pole compared to the high people, you are targeted. Then they use your mental health and all that against you. And I won't lie, I had an altercation when I was in the civilian government with a female. I didn't say nothing to her. I just gave her the I hate you look. And people know that my look and my demeanor and the way I talk, I can scare people. I don't think you know that or not, but also
Well, I hope
I
I
have a
only see
seven.
the good side, right?
Yeah, I have a 17-year-old daughter. Oh, that guy that's right there right now, he is a huge part of my life right there. Donald Wilson, thanks, brother. Command Sergeant Major. Him and I worked together in our 4 years before I left as an Army instructor. So, peace. He's doing a lot for the community. I see him there watching. This is also an apology to my daughter. That broken bond between me and my kid because for the first 3 years, my daughter knew herself as the B word. So when a child gets that in their head, they don't forget it. She's 17 now, and I do everything to that child, and it's almost like there's an agenda against me. So one day she will pick these up, but now I made the recordings on Spotify, and you can go to 1821 on Spotify, 1821 Productions on Spotify, and hear those audios. That those audiobooks should be dropping April, May. So
April, May. So where are they dropping?
yeah, because a
Are they
lot
dropping? Are they dropping on
of
what is the
audible,
platform?
audible,
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 Audible, Audible.
Amazon Audible
Oh,
books,
Audible,
Audible,
Audible.
Audible. Yeah. So Brookside Press, they're from Canada. They're doing everything. They won't use my voice because I recorded everything here in my RV. This is like my little podcast station where I'm at in my passenger side of my RV. And they didn't
Okay.
accept the audio pieces. So they're recording everything right now as we speak.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I mean,
So, but yeah.
if you have a team that's able to record for you, that's amazing. So it's going to turn out really good.
Uh, yeah, it's expensive too.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But there are a lot of people that suffer from mental health and like dementia and stuff that can't read. Mentally, they can't read. So they would rather listen. And some of my friends, like this guy watching right now, I sent him audio pieces when he was like mowing the yards for people. And he
Hmm.
said, he called me Steve-O. That's what my nickname in the Army was, Steve-O. Like Stevens. We all knew each other
Right.
by last names, but I was Steve-O. Not like
Right.
from, not like from the, what's his name, from Steve-O. But my nickname was Steve-O. And basically, he listened, and a lot of my friends from high school listened, and Elizabeth, that's on here too, listened, and it resonates a lot different when you hear my voice and the pain in my voice when I read. Um, so I did everything with I have a monitor here, it's off right now, but I had the words up there, and I would read to my phone, and they were like, you have echoes, and you have spacing, and so I had to
Right.
resubmit it. So yeah, so we're looking at April,
There's a
May.
lot of equipment you have to have. It can be really time consuming.
Oh yeah, really, and you learn that in podcasting too, because I have a lot of people beating me to death on like, you need a microphone, you need a better microphone, you need a cam. Well, if I do podcasts that don't have video, it's all audio, then I don't need a camera. So, but yeah, those are the story. So, real quick, this right here. um, is, like I said, opening Pandora's box about certain things. There's also resume writing in here for
Okay.
people who transition. So people who transition from the military to civilian. Because I don't know if you know it or not, but like civilian people that like interview you, they don't care what grade you were or what rank you were. You have to use whatever you did and say if you were a captain or a commander, you have to use the military jargon and change it to civilian lingo, saying that you were like a manager,
Right.
CEO,
Or
or
a
something like that.
supervisor. Or yeah.
Exactly. And they don't care about your awards or your combat. So you have to like take all that leadership stuff or whatever you did with 2 or 3 years in the
And
military and make it
translate
flow.
it.
Exactly. Because like
Right.
I was just talking to my buddy last night. He's a Purple Heart recipient and 3 Bronze Stars, and I'm like, how was that transfer? See, who is she, Steve-O? I'll, I'll, I'll
Hi.
tell you later. I'll tell you later, Don. I'll tell you later, Don. She's got tons of followers, and she's a very important person. So,
Hardly.
um,
Hardly.
yeah, well. All I know is I discussed with him, and he's working on his resume right now. And I said, dude, that Purple Heart is going to carry a long way, but no one cares if you got a Bronze Star because Purple Heart is like you were injured in combat,
Right.
and it showed that you were, you survived. There's a lot of Purple Heart recipients out there that are not here with us.
Right.
So him being a survivor, being a Purple Heart recipient, can tell you a lot. And we collaborate, together. He was in my platoon, and he was a soldier of mine. And he said because of me, he went 22 years and got out as a sergeant first class because I inspired him. And we haven't seen each other in 20 years. We talk every day about our families and know about the secrets and all that. And just last month, we met. He came here from Miami and met me here in Davenport, and we went to Orlando to dinner. And the first thing he
You
said
know,
when he saw me was smoke. So not Bill, not Steve-O, but I don't know if you know, there's terminology that you use with different people in the Army. So he called me smoke. And that means when I was his platoon sergeant as a smoke, I bring the heat. Like I bring the smoke. You never seen wrestling? We bring the smoke. So I bring the smoke. And this guy respects me and calls me smoke.
that's awesome.
So she,
My father was in the Air Force, so I don't know if the lingo was different. So I didn't hear that
eh,
one.
it's kind of so I was in the artillery, so I was combat arms. Like we sometimes do like combined fire exercises with the Air Force, like where
Right.
they drop bombs and we shoot bombs, but it's called
Right.
a combined fire exercise, but never interacted with any Air Force folks or anything like that. So
I mean, the men in my family, my father was in the Air Force, my younger brother was in the Navy, my older brother was in the Army. They all go. They all go.
yeah, my dad was a two-time Korean War veteran, and I didn't know anything about him. And then when he was getting ready to like, about 2016, he would make me breakfast and dinner, and we would sit down, and he started telling me about Pork Chop Hill.
Right.
It was a terrible, terrible campaign in the Korean War, and I'm like, you went twice to Pork Chop Hill? How long was that war or campaign? It was like he went back and came back 3 months later. So, and that's the way some of my deployments were. You would
Right.
go and come back 3 months and go back again.
Right.
So, but
Right.
yeah,
So did you were
it's
you
all
able
right.
were you able to travel a lot to places that you actually wanted to go? Because I know that some people like to go to certain places. My brother liked to go to Japan. Like he loved Japan. So sometimes people are able to go to different locations that they actually want to, serve in.
Uh, let's just say when I was in the military, so I was in the military for 19 years. I was single, and most of the time I was in the military, I was deployed. So
Okay.
wherever I deployed, I had a weapon, and wherever I deployed, somebody was watching. So I even have pictures when we were downtown Kuwait. They were like, "Hey, you're staying on the bus. and you're the guy that's going to guard all the weapons. While everybody went to TGI Fridays or to the IMAX cinema, I was standing outside holding a gun to my head and smiling because I used to have big high hair and make funny pictures.
Right.
I sent one to my kid and she's like, "That is not you." And I was like, "Yeah, that's me." So after the interview, I sent it to you and you'd be like, "That is not you."
Oh,
So, but
okay.
actually, there were like I liked Kuwait City. It was very nice. I got to go to Qatar. I got to go to Spain and Italy,
Oh,
Germany. Nuremberg, Germany was really nice. I got to learn about like Gothic music and house music while I was there. We used to like run the German clubs when we were privates. I think a lot of military people that are watching remember the army used to wear the black jacket, like the black trench coat.
right.
That was the wear when we were privates in downtown Germany, and then like the skinheads would look at us like we hate Americans, So
I think,
we would wear our
I don't think they have to be a skinhead to hate Americans at this point.
now, but I'm talking about like in 1989.
Oh, okay.
The skinhead era was huge back in Germany. Like they hated American soldiers, and we would like slick our hair back and wear the black trench and wear like military boots and go into the clubs and try to like rule.
Right.
Wasn't happening. Wasn't happening. But Germany, Germany, and a lot of people don't get to go to Germany. And then I went to Korea twice, and Korea was an eye opener. I'm just going to tell you that.
Really? Wait, so you actually served during the Korean, no, I'm thinking of a different war. So, but you served during the Korean War?
I got deployed. I had to spend a year in Korea.
Oh,
So
to serve a year in Korea.
during my 20-year time, so the Korean War was before Desert Storm and Desert Shield.
Okay,
So I wasn't even in yet. Yeah. But
got it.
some people don't even get to go to Korea. And me being artillery, I ended up going to the same base at Camp Casey twice.
Right.
So the first time I went there, it was a rude awakening because I didn't speak Hangul, like Korean. I could say kamsamida, ajima, I can do a little bit of this and that. But like one thing I'll tell you that was funny is because like when we were in the field, ajima, like an old woman, ajima, she would come out to the field. Like first sergeant would already tell her where we're going. So we would not know where we're going, but she would be already set up with like yaki mandu and
Right.
pot stickers and all that. And we would
Right.
take our MRE. If we didn't have money, we'd take the MRE and give it to her. And if we didn't have money, she put on credit, and we'd be standing in formation at the end of the month. The first sergeant would be standing there. Little Ajima would come out with her little book and start reading names off of people. Because if you didn't pay Ajima in Korea, you were banned to the barracks.
Ooh.
Like you couldn't go out on the weekends. So it was like restriction. And I was like, there's no place in the whole army that's like that, I never
Right.
knew that. Like, but we were real close to the demilitarized zone, the DMZ, maybe about 11 miles away. So I was always scared something was going to happen because like North Korea had so many tubes pointed at South Korea. I was like,
Right.
well, we go to war, that's a death sentence. You could just not even ship me home because I'm not coming back. But
But
it
you
was
made it
fun.
back, so
Yeah, and I think that I was given many chances because, like, when I was in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, I actually eye to eye was at breakfast with our platoon, and I was just a private. I didn't know, and like, I guess it's a Russian T-72 tank. Back then, it was an Iraqi T-72, but we learned before we left what identification vehicles were, and one of them came through a berm and was firing into our position, and I'm standing there holding my chow plate while this thing is firing at me, and I'm like, I did not sign up for this,
right.
you know. So, but then I learned what direct fire was because like the guns all turned like tanks and were firing at it, and not one round probably hit it, but it chased it away, and probably an M1 tank later killed it or destroyed it. But yeah, so. But I think the worst that I've ever seen in combat was, y'all can fact check me, Highway of Death or the Highway of Hell. You can look that picture up.
Okay.
During Desert Storm, the last attack, 45-minute attack, A-10s blanketed. It's called Highway 80, which is now called Route 1 for the Army between Kuwait and Iraq. So they pushed the Republican Guard back toward Iraq, but they were cowards and they hid on the in exchange of the highway and all that between women and children and families in their vehicles and all that. Like they hid vehicles and stuff on the highway so that when the A-10s blanketed everything, and then I got to tell you this, but he neutralized the whole thing. Like the whole thing looked like just a bomb went off. So, and I never thought that it would see that because they were like, that's where our bullets are going.
Right.
That's where our rockets are going, you know? And then we drove through it. We drove through it. Like the engineers cleared a path and we were all hanging out of the vehicle looking, and you could see skeletonized remains. Like these guys don't even know what hit them. They were like climbing on the side of the vehicle and they were all skeletonized. Some of them were sitting in the vehicle with their weapons still, and they were all skeleton. It's like a movie, like a freaking horror movie. And I'm like 19 years old witnessing this, and I'm like, man, we did
So
this.
when you came
And then
back, when you came back from all of that, were you able to get, like the kind of care that you needed to process that? I mean, just as a
I don't,
veteran coming back from seeing that type of trauma and that type of violence.
you know what? I don't think help started coming to people until after Operation Iraqi 2, like the second part of Iraqi 2. Because it was almost like they pat you on the back and tell you you're a super soldier, good job. You unalive some people and go home and deal with it. And that's why I stayed at Walter Reed for a year, because they did research and said that soldiers like me, the situation I was in with no weapon in Iraq, writing a book, you want to come home and unalive your family. So I had a new wife, I had a new baby, and they're like, Stevens is not going home because he could end up in jail.
Right.
And like I said, when I came home from Walter Reed, it was a whole new beginning of transitioning. So I've lived some bad lives, but now I'm out trying to show my kid that I'm trying to be like the voice of the voiceless, and all these people that are popping up on here talking know that I live in my RV and I try to interact and connect with veterans. It's not like I'm overturning rocks and trying to find them, but it's all about networking and being successful and promoting my books. Like,
Right.
not really selling a lot of books, but now that I have a marketing person, we're working 2 videos, and I've changed my whole marketing perspective. So I'm going after so right now, anyone that follows me is 30 plus. There are no, so now when I post, I put gamers, because there's a lot of gamers, children that turn to the virtual world or gaming to get away from the terrible childhood
Right.
or bullying and stuff like that. So
Right.
the first book is going toward gamers. The second book is going toward people with severe trauma and stuff like that, adults. So just to tell you real quick, the first trailer is going to be like a cartoon.
Okay.
It's going to be, and I talk about that in my, what is it? I talk about it in this book here a little bit, but the first trailer is for the Mirror, and it's about a knight battling a dragon.
Okay.
So we are told that we have to battle our demons with PTSD.
Right.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to use, like a cartoon knight character battling a dragon, kind of like the gamer world,
Right.
because they play those games. Got that from a vision from 1993 called Dragon's Lair. It was a really cool game.
So
Some people still have
you're using imagery.
yeah, like animation. And then the second one will be like a fun house, like a room of mirrors.
Okay.
And I'm taking pictures of people that have bought my book and make them silhouettes in the mirrors to thank them, kind of like a cryptic thank you. So it is a hooded figure, like a Sith Lord from Star Wars, or like a Grim Reaper without the sickle.
Right.
No face, because there's no expression. And the reason why I blurred out the faces from the people that bought my book is because we have no emotions. Okay. So those people in the mirror, this thing goes kind of basically crazy in the video and breaks the mirrors. And then finally, when they break the final mirror, like this blue aura comes out of the mirror and fog, and my book comes out. And I do a trailer, like I've talked about battling, the mirrors and broken land, because I believe with my platform, I call everybody my mirror people.
Right.
So I basically call them, it's a broken mirror. But I will tell you, like, there are some cool things in here, like reflections of mirrors. Some of them are just pages of like images of mirrors to reflect. Like you look in the mirror and try to reflect back. Kind of like there's a broken mirror. There's a goofy picture of me.
Right.
Let me see here. There's some more mirrors. So I was going to do a whole book of broken mirrors, but people probably wouldn't understand it. But then I wrote about it. So, but yeah.
So then
I'm hoping that they get taken off.
So are these the two books that you're advertising right now? Those are the ones that you showed us, right? Can you show the two books to us again one more time?
Amazon, hardback, softback, Kindle.
No, show us the cover. So let us see the cover
open it.
again. Yeah, I want to see the book cover. There you go. It looks beautiful.
The actual image of the real cover is this here, going into a hallway. See the hallway around it? So that's like me walking toward my father in the light. And then this, as a special author copy that you can't get no more, you can see the corporate image in it. You see the corporate guy?
Right.
Okay. So I had to have this remade because I wanted to do a special hard copy, a special softback, and a Kindle. But with my marketing, we're now going away with this. And I sent you the new with the. So both of my books have been reviewed by the U.S. Book Review. So thank God when I had a publisher, they submitted my stuff.
Right.
So.
Right. That's awesome.
And I'd like to give a shout. Well, I'd like to give a. Can I give a shout out that both of my books are at the London Book Fair starting March 11th. Like, I don't sell a lot of books, but my books are there. I don't know why. It's part of the audio thing. They took my books there. The guy called me from California. He's like, we're getting ready to get on a plane. And I'm like, I don't believe you. Next thing I know, I get a link, and there are pictures of like this flip thing. And both of my books are at the London Book Fair. So, but I just want to say it's an honor being in the spotlight with the other 4 authors. So I'd be interested to see what their stuff is about, and go and click and see what their books are about. But I believe, and I always say this, mental health is a life sentence without parole.
There you go. There you go. I just want to thank you so much for coming to join us and tell us about your books and your experience. We are having an Authors Day event on March 23rd, so I hope you will be back.
Oh, that's the event with the other people, right?
Yes, it's on March 23rd.
Okay. All right. And I just want to say that I have a lot of friends that are commenting on, so I have never done what we did where you send me the questions and then I didn't write them. As you could tell, I talked to my phone because they were very long. And you broke them down and they were like, that's a really good interview, man. Like, did you do that interview personally with her? And I'm like, no, but it was so good that she wanted me to come back live and talk about it. So I'm letting you know that there are people that I work with very high in the government that said that was very well written. So I know it took you time to like decompress it because you were like, it's very long. And I was like, I'm a very long-winded person. So, and you didn't know people with PTSD speak a long time. So I'm trying to stop that. That's why I'm now doing a podcast for 30 minutes. I do my first 15 and then let my guest speak for 15 minutes and I don't say a word. So, but
Everything
Maybe
you
I'll
have
have
to say
maybe
is
I'll have you on
very,
my
very
podcast.
interesting and enlightening because, there's some things that you said about the military that, I had never heard before. And my dad was in the military. But, it's, sometimes I notice from my brother and my father that there certain things that they just don't talk about. So that's probably why I didn't hear it, some of the things that you had said.
Yeah, there's some things there's some things I don't talk about either that that I don't think that the American people want to hear.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right.
my question is, and I'm not getting political. Like I said, I don't want to do politics, but do you really think that we went to Iraq for oil?
Um,
Do you
I think that America
really
goes
think?
everywhere they shouldn't be just because they want to be in. But let's not get political.
No,
Let's
but what
not
I'm
get
saying is,
political.
no, what I'm saying is to have war, it's about money
Right.
because when you have war, they produce weapons, they produce uniforms, they produce tanks, and that's all money that's going because when you have war, you boost the economy.
That's
You
true.
definitely boost the economy. So, but
Yeah.
I don't think if God, here's I speaking religiously, but because of God, we have war because people don't think through the whole biblical days they've been fighting these wars like this whole Israel and Gaza. They've been fighting way before you and I've been alive, like from the BC era, and it's all religious political stuff. And I don't want to get into biblical stuff, but we have wars because of God. I really do.
Well, I will not debate that, but I think that I've enjoyed your talk so much today. I've enjoyed the chance to sort of listen to your experience and listen to your description of how you were inspired to write your books. And I honestly deeply hope that you will be back with us on March 23rd.
I will be. That'll be
Awesome.
the day after I go see. That'll be the day after I go see the Deftones.
There
So
you go. There you go. Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate everybody listening in, and hopefully I didn't get too off the subject. So,
Not at all.
and my buddy's still here saying, "Who is she? Are you doing the interview or is she?"
Tell your buddy I said hello.
I'm sure I'm gonna get a phone call and be like, "Who was that?" But anyways, it's not about that. Thank you. I very appreciate you taking the time, and it's all about networking. So hopefully, I can have you on my show,
Sure.
and you can
Why
talk
not?
about what you can talk about what you do. So I have a
I'm,
very
I'm
laid
going
out
to.
script. Yeah, I have a very laid out script. It's only 3 questions about trauma and what crawl, walk, run is. So I'm going to tell my platform. My podcast is Crawl, Walk, Run, and then I had to change the name. A therapeutic. Uh, hold on. It's a therapeutic. Man, I can't even say it now. Reliance.
There you go.
A therapeutic reliance. So, yeah, a couple people told me that there's a lot of crawl, walk, runs out there. So I had to change the name. So
There you go.
yeah.
So when we finish this up, please make sure that you send me your links so that when I post the clips, I'm not going to post the whole interview because the first part was messed up. So what we'll do is if you send me your links, I will post clips and put your contact links with the clips in the post. So then that way
Oh, great.
people who
Okay.
watch can reach you and see and go straight to your books and straight to your website.
Thank you. I appreciate
No
it. I appreciate everybody
problem.
watching.
Thank you again.
I am the voice. I am the voice of the voiceless. Have a great day. Great
You
evening.
too.
Wow.
Thanks.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. All right. Thank you guys so much for attending. That was Sergeant William Stevens, retired. He was here today to talk about his time in the military, the 2 books that he wrote, and his time afterwards as a veteran dealing with mental health. We will be posting clips of the interview later along with his links so that you can read and head to his website to see his works. Thank you again for attending.